it's Christina. So today I'm going to be sharing what I've been doing for my makeup recently. I've made a few changes and I've seen some good results, so I just wanted to share with you. So I'm starting with this Milk. It's a primer and it comes in this little stick. And I kind of thought at first it was going to be like any other primer where you kind of like put a little bit on and rub it everywhere. But it turns out you kind of really have to put it on from the stick exactly where you want it. So I'm just doing it all over right now to get full coverage, but if I'm short on time, I'll just put it on the areas where I really need a primer. So that's on my cheeks, on my nose, and on my chin. I guess that's all the parts of my face. And so then after that, I will do under eye concealer. So I have been using this Laura Mercier under eye concealer lately. I'm wearing shade 1N. It's the Flawless Fusion. So I kind of put on more than I used to do as a prep, and that is because I started using a beauty blender finally. I know, right? It's crazy. So I take the blender and I just kind of rub it in. I do that triangle because it looks less, or it looks more natural to have more of your under eye brightened than just like right here. It always kind of looks weird if you just have under eye concealer right on your under eyes because it kind of highlights them more. So I just use this to spread it out a little and to rub it in. And I really like the finish that the Beauty Blender gives. It's like way better than my fingers ever could do. So then after I've done that, I'm gonna take, this was kind of a crazy purchase, but I really like the way that it looked in stores. So this is Givenchy. Yup. It's a bronzer, but I got it in this light moon, I think it's called moon something, moon glow. I don't know, the back is in French. And so before I set my under eye powder, I'm just gonna take a little brush and put a little bit of this right on top of that concealer just to brighten it a little. And so this is like highlighter, but it is not sparkly at all. So it just kind of adds a little bit of brightening. And so then after that, I'm going to take my Beauty Blender again, and I have this Laura Mercier. It's an under eye brightening powder. And so I'm just going to dip my Beauty Blender right in there, get a lot, and put it on top of the concealer. And so I know I'm like way late on this, but this is called baking, in case you have not heard of this technique. It's been around for a while. I actually remember trying it 2014, 2013. It was before I even got married. And I didn't really think it did anything then, so I kind of abandoned it. But I saw a few people doing it recently for under eye, and then I went and got my makeup done at Sephora, and she did it, and it really works on under eyes for me. It doesn't necessarily work elsewhere on my face, but like under eyes, like I'm still using this same CoverGirl stick concealer. I've used this, I think, since I was in high school. I don't love using foundation, and so I just put this on the places where I need a tiny bit of coverage. So I'm just covering up a little bit of redness on my chin, and then filling in my pores on my nose so they don't stand out as much. So it's like my main beauty gripe right now is my nose. And then I've actually been taking, I suppose I could beauty blend that too, huh? I've actually been taking the same concealer I use on my under eye and just doing a little bit of highlighting with it. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on the top of my chin. I'm gonna grab my Cupid's bow, put a little bit on my nose, a little bit in the center of my forehead, a little bit on the tops of my cheekbones, and then I'll just blend that in. It's kind of like a little more subtle way of doing highlighting. I am still gonna put powder highlighter on top of it. Man, I think they're tearing down a house behind me. Can you hear that in the video? I don't know. And now I'm just gonna do a tiny bit of this other concealer. Okay, I know this is crazy. How many products do I need? But this is NARS, and I'm using it in vanilla. And I feel like this covers up redness really well. So I'm just gonna use it around my nose where I have a little bit of redness, and I'm gonna put it on a scar on my cheek. I'll just tappy that in. Sometimes I use the Beauty Blender for this too. I'm still new to them. And then what I'm gonna do is put on some powder. So I'm still using this Smashbox powder. It's a solid powder, but then it has a little grinder inside so you can grind fresh powder. So I'm gonna use the blender to put it onto my nose. This is my problem area. I have a super shiny nose, and I always have issues with pores here, so I'm kind of gonna bake this as well. It doesn't work as well on my nose, but at least keeps the shiny at bay for a little bit. And then I'm gonna take a big brush and put a little bit of powder on the rest of my face too. So the nose I'm just going to leave on for a little bit, just to try and help. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Givenchy and put a little more powder highlighter on top of everything else. I have this angled highlighter brush, and I love it. It really helps you like target your cheekbones. A little bit on my forehead, a little bit on my chin, and again my Cupid's bow. I sometimes will put a little bit on my nose too, but I usually don't want to highlight that. So. And then I'm just going to put on a tiny bit of blush. I'm still using this Cargo blush. I bought it, I don't know, years ago. Like, still got some. The shade is Los Cabos. So just a little bit. Help me look alive. And I'm just putting it right on the apples of my cheeks. So you don't want to put on too much, just a little. And then I'm gonna go and do my eyes. Is it fun seeing all the powder still sitting on my face? I feel like I look a little crazy. So I've been using Urban Decay, the Smoky palette. One of my friends gave this to me because she was moving away. And thank you, because I love it. It's so good. I don't actually like the brush that came with it though. This is the brush that came with the Smoky palette. It's kind of like a bigger blendy brush and then a really small brush on this end. This one has, the one that came with my Naked 2 palette, it's like a flat brush on one side and a smaller brush on the top. So I'm using this brush. And so I'm gonna use these three colors. So this first one is 13, and then Combust, and then Whiskey. to do kind of like a more smoky but still daytime eye. It is a little darker than like I necessarily do for work, but it's the weekend today, so we're going for it. Something else that I started doing differently, just based on my Sephora visit, was she didn't use under eye, she didn't line my under eyes with black, which is what I've always done. She used the brown from the eyeshadow, and I've tried it before. I always thought it looked weird, and she did it, and it looked so nice, so I kind of studied what she did and copied. So I'm taking this Combust powder now. I'm putting it on like the inside half of my eye. Okay, and now I'm going to move on to the darkest shade, so the Whiskey. So this is a little tricky because it's so dark. So you really have to blend it. And I'm doing kind of from the inner corner of my eye up into the crease. I try and like blend it in on the way in. Can you even see me? Yeah. And then have it, so I try and get it lighter on the inside of my crease, on the inner eye, and then darker on the outside. And do the other side. And the reason why I left the powder on under my eyes still, I'm going to clean that up in just a second. To like let it bake. So baking, you put powder on and you let it sit for a long time. And that kind of like really helps set your makeup. And I swear, I used to get creases under my under eyes almost every day, and it drove me nuts. And like the first thing I do when I went to work is go into the bathroom and fix it. And now that I've been doing this, the baking thing doesn't happen anymore. Okay, so I've got both of my upper eyes done. And because I have the powder on under my eye, if I had any fallout, now I can just brush that under eye powder away, and it'll brush out the fallout from the eyeshadow. So I don't have any issues of it like going into my other makeup. I'm gonna get my nose in there too. So now I'm going to take the skinny edge of the brush. I'm not going to wet it like I used to do with my eyeliner brush. I'm just going to take a little bit of the shadow and get it down along my lower lash line. And it just is like prettier and softer than the black liner was, but it still gives me some definition. I always think it looks a little weird if like if you do a full eye of makeup and then like you don't put any eyeliner or mascara on your bottom eyes. It looks so bizarre. I used to know these girls in college who would do that, and I always looked at them like, what is happening on your face? Like you have a full liquid line on the top and then no eyelashes on the bottom. It's a very bizarre look. There also were girls who would do the opposite, which was even weirder. Like they all live together, like do they all like look at each other and they're like, oh, that's how we're supposed to do makeup. But those girls would put a really strong line on their under eye and then not have any eyeliner on their top eyelashes. Just totally bizarre to me. Okay, so that's like, it's pretty easy. You just go across. Now I'm gonna take this, it's L'Oreal Infallible eyeliner, and I'm gonna take it and put it into my waterline, and that just kind of amps up my my lash line. It makes them just look a little more full. So I'm just taking this and I'm literally like coloring in underneath my lash line, and it fills in between your lashes, and it makes you It just makes it look like you have thicker eyelashes. And I do not have thick eyelashes. I have sad little wimpy ones. So this trick always really helps. Okay, and now before I do mascara, I'm just gonna fill in my brows real quick. So I'm still using this Bobbi Brown. It's a combo. On one side is a stick, on the other side is a little spoolie. I really like it. I use it in the taupe shade, which is a little bit red, so it helps to blend in my eyebrows with my hair. When my hair is really bright though, I don't actually like this because it's a little softer. And the people at Sephora used just like a straight up brown shade on me. I thought that looked better when my hair was really bright and newly dyed. So I'm just kind of lightly stroking this on into my eyebrows. Just fill them in a little and give them a little definition. I don't like when like brows are too defined, too dark, too crazy. I just like it light and natural looking. Okay, and then I'm going to take the little spoolie end and just brush that out. And this just gets them all in line. Makes it look a little more natural. Okay, now it's mascara time. Okay, so I'm still using this Shu Uemura, is that how you say it? Eyelash curler. I've had this for years. I love it. Hold it on there for a few seconds. If I'm feeling industrious, sometimes I heat it for a few seconds with my hairdryer. But I don't know if it really makes a huge difference, but it's kind of like using a curling iron on your hair, you know, get the heat to make the curl set a little better. Okay, and then this part of my routine has not changed, so I'm still using Urban Decay Subversion. It's lash primer to add a little more length before I go in for the real deal. I also recently have been skipping this step sometimes and putting on false lashes instead, which is exciting. Do I look good right now? Like little white eyeliner or white mascara? And then I'm still using this Better Than Sex mascara by Too Faced. I love it. It comes out a little wet in the beginning, so like when you first get a new tube, which is a little dangerous. But after a couple uses it gets a really nice consistency. And get my bottom lashes. I'll do one more coat on both sides. This is exciting. I'm much farther away from the mirror than I usually get. Okay. One last coat. Alright, so that's it for eyes. Usually I stop at this point, but I always look a little bit dead if I don't put something on my lips. I just don't have any color. So I'm still using this NARS lip gloss. I love it. The shade is Bound. It's so pretty. It's like your lips, but better, right? And that is it. We're done. So that is my current daily makeup routine. If I have the time. If I don't have the time, I have a shorter video that shows how I get through a very speedy beauty routine. So check it out. Thanks for watching.